Oh my gosh! Welcome to WinSouls TV! This is Jeff, your host. And we got another one again for you. We got another one again. So we have another one today, and it's on spiritual warfare. Now, so I've taught you a little techniques here and there. Ultimately, one of the things that we're going to have to do is literally we're just going to have to get down and dirty and start reading that word. The word is what cleanses us. The word is what teaches us. The word is what brings us to that specific place to where we can stand on the truths of God. Because now by reading the word, we will know them. And then we will be able to fight. But if you never open up the word, never develop that relationship with him, you don't know who you are because you don't know who he is. Now, moving on. There are a lot of Christians that do not believe in deliverance. They do not believe that Christians can be demonized. They believe that demons can only influence your thoughts from the outside, but but demons can't not abide within. And one of the biggest arguments concerning that has to do with believers quoting 2 Corinthians 6:14, which reads, "But ye be not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship have righteousness and unrighteousness, and what communion hath light with darkness?" A lot of people like to take that specific verse, twist it, and say that light cannot abide in darkness. That has nothing to do with what the verse is talking about. It is talking about being unequally yoked with unbelievers, being in a relationship, being tied to that person in marriage, and they're an unbeliever and you are a believer. What do you two have in common? What two things? What is the main foundation of you guys' growth together? It's not the Lord. So what do you have in common? That is the main argument that a lot of people think, and they twist it and say that light cannot abide in the darkness. And I've had conversations with other Christians and this, that, and the other, and quite frankly, that's just not true. And we're going to debunk that right now. The first verse that we are going to use to debunk that is Ephesians 5:26 through 27. Let me read that for you. It says that we may sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. Now, apparently, if light can't abide in the darkness, then what is the purpose of reading the word to be cleansed? Okay, so we are comprised of body, soul, and spirit. The spirit is perfect. So what needs to be cleansed is our soul and the specific acts of our body, right? So if that's the case, then reading the word and developing a relationship with Christ, there is something on the inside of us that needs to be cleansed. And that thing is the soul, which is comprised of the mind, the will, and the emotions. And this is the specific place where Satan and his little minions can abide. I'm not going to get into the topic today about Christians being able to be possessed or oppressed. That's a whole other topic. But I will say that Christians can be demonized. Otherwise, there would be no reason for us to be cleansed and sanctified through and through by the communion of reading the word and developing a relationship with God. There would be nothing to be cleansed if darkness did not abide there. So that's one. Two, Romans 7:17 through 18. Let me read that for you. Now then, it is no more that I do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. For I know that in me, that is my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. For to will is present For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good, I find not. Now let's debunk that. Now Paul is talking about himself, right? So inside the faculties of his body, which on the inside of our body contains the soul and the spirit, one of those is having a problem here. If the spirit is perfect, it must be the soul. Okay? So if that's the case, if Paul is sitting here talking about for the sin that dwells within him is up to no good, and he cannot find good within himself, then obviously light and darkness can abide within the same place, and even more specifically within the same body. So if sin can dwell there, then and light can dwell there, because Paul was apparently a Christian, the Holy Spirit was abiding within him, as well as that sin nature. And so if that's the case, for somebody to say that sin or darkness, because sin is darkness, cannot abide with light, that's not the case. That's not the case, at least within our faculties. And here is another case of that. Here's another case, because the words tells us that the body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, right? Right. And so then they will mix that, and then they will tell us, hey, look, light can't abide with darkness. If Paul was wrestling with sin, which is darkness, and it is not good, and he also had the Holy Spirit, then apparently it can. And here is number 3. We are just going to drive it home right here. This is coming from Jeremiah 23:24. It says, can any hide himself in secret places that I shall not see him? Saith the Lord. It says, do not I fill heaven and earth, saith the Lord. Now, the Holy Spirit consumes heaven and earth, just like this verse just said. But if light could not abide with darkness, then guess what? How is it then that demons are roaming this earth? That wouldn't be a possibility. Demons would not be able to roam in this earth if light and darkness could not be in the same place. And in Job 1:12, Satan even approaches the Lord. And so if darkness can't abide in those specific places, then how is Satan able to approach the Lord? You see what I'm saying? If darkness can't abide, can't be in conjunction with the light, if they are incapable of being around each other, then how is it that Satan was able to approach the Lord in Job 1:12? And it says in Job 1:12, now I'm paraphrasing here, so Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. How is he in the presence of the Lord if he is all darkness? Satan ain't got nothing to do with Jesus or the Lord or God, period. So those are specific things that we would need to be able to combat concerning deliverance. Deliverance is a very real thing, and it is for God's children. It is for God's children as well as unbelievers. Casting demons out of unbelievers, and then praying a prayer of salvation over them as well, and leading them to Christ with the Lord's willing. But don't get it twisted. Christians can be demonized as well. Okay? And then as also, light and darkness can abide in the same place. And we just proved that. So go forth in confidence that deliverance is very real. For Christians, light and darkness can abide in the same body. And that is not a relevant argument for Christians to say that light and darkness cannot be in the same place, because apparently it can. And Paul is a perfect example of that. We are perfect examples of that. You guys be blessed, and I hope this helps you guys. Goodbye.